That's what I found today at the PX. Some K-sets. Picked up 4 of them over at one of the Army camps just the other side of Pleiku City. Captain Barber and Lieutenant Honold and myself took our vehicle and drove, it's about 10 miles, I guess, from Pleiku Air Base out through the town of Pleiku City to our big Army Division headquarters. PX isn't very big, but at least they had tapes. First time I'd been off base since I'd been here. Things are real quiet around now. Charlie's been driven back into the jungles, and either that or killed. They've killed a whole swarm of them around here. But anyway, it's quite an interesting trip through town. You can't believe how these people live over here. They're just shacks. The whole town looks like the closest thing I can compare it to is Turkey or Mexico. Some of the slum areas I've seen, wooden shacks with tin roofs and just jammed together. Little kids out playing in the dirt roads. There's hardly anything paved through town except the main city or main street. Pleiku is it's a junction of the main north, south, east, west highways in Vietnam. The one going north-south runs on up through Kon Tum and on up through into North Vietnam before they chopped it off, and then run south to Saigon. And the one running east and west runs into Cambodia, and then going east goes to Da Nang. They're not what we'd call a superhighway by any means. They're not as good as our state highways in Arkansas, but not as wide, and they're much rougher. The shoulders are very sorry. There's chug holes in them, and that's an experience driving over them. Most of the traffic is Army. We met, I don't know how many convoys. That's the main convoy route from the port over at Cam Bay and Da Nang through there. There's 40 or 50 trucks in a convoy sometimes with armed jeeps in front and then interspersed between them and in the rear. They also have a armored personnel carrier that escorts them with mortars, machine guns. This whole area through here is just one big military complex. There's a huge Vietnamese base tank outfit between here and Pleiku City. There's what they call Force Mike, which is a special forces camp just off the end of the runway. It's Australian, South Vietnamese, and American Rangers. And of course, mentioned to you Artillery Hill, which is about 3 or 4 miles over on another hill from the air base, and then Engineer Hill, which is about the same distance in another direction. It has all Army engineering troops, road builders, and this type thing. And there's what they call Tropo Hill, which is just out off base here. It's part of the Defense Communication Agency's long-range communication system, huge antennas. I think that's what Charlie was firing at with his rockets. They're just 300 or 400 yards from the BOQs here. But anyway, he hasn't hit them. He hasn't fired one at us since last Tuesday morning, and they tell us that they think intelligence thinks that it's all over for a good while now at least, because they've counted, I figure they've killed around 8,000 in the last few days, just since the first of the week. And they've found hundreds of tons of arms and food and other supplies. they've had stocked up for their offensive, which looks like it's going to fizzle out before it really gets started. Pleiku City is about like any other town in any country that's close to an American military base. So they've got thousands of souvenir stands of everything you can imagine. The Vietnamese hats and pillow slips and things to hang on the wall and all kinds of junk, you know. And about every other place is a laundry where they wash it out by hand in a ditch, I guess, out behind their house. But they've got signs up in English, modern laundry, hand washing or something like that, or machine washing on some of them. But I don't think I'll try one of them. They're building a base laundry here. It's about 75% complete, I guess. Should be done by middle of the month. And when that happens, I guess our maids won't be washing their clothes out by hand anymore. I kind of like it this way. We just throw dirty clothes in the corner, and maid comes in, cleans the room, and makes a bed, and washes the clothes, and folds them up, and puts them in a drawer. She doesn't iron them. I reckon they don't know how to iron. But it don't make much difference over here in this heat anyway. They wouldn't look ironed 5 minutes after you put them on. It's been terribly hot today. It's just humid, and must be about 95% or degrees and about 95% humidity. And just one of those clammy days. Have the fan going, but all it's doing is moving this hot air around. It's not really cooling it much. Not a whole lot going on the base today. They're not flying much for some reason. They usually do on every day of the week, but after the hectic week last week, maybe they decided to take a stand down. I hope so. We're using something like 2,000 tons of munitions a month, and that's a lot of stuff. Napalm and frag bombs and 250-pound high explosive on up to 750-pound. Rockets, 20 millimeter, 7.56 miniguns on the spooky birds, or what we call Puff the Magic Dragon. These things have, it's a C-47 with 3 of these 7.62 millimeter miniguns mounted on one side. And they can fire either one or all 3 at the same time. They fire at the rate of 6,000 rounds per minute. I've taken some pictures. I hope they develop. They fired all last week when things were pretty hectic. They were firing in 2 to 3 miles from the base at times. Of course, this was at night, and all you could see is a red stream of tracers going toward the ground, and you could hear the noise real loud. Anyway, I tried to get some pictures. Haven't had them developed yet. I hope they turn out. And I took some pictures of the flares. They dropped flares around every night, just about all night long around the perimeter so the guards can see if anything's moving. There's no underbrush. There's no nothing. This place is just like a desert, so we've got observation towers all the way around the whole base, sandbagged and barricaded for APs to watch from. And then on out beyond the perimeter, about a half mile, we've got listening posts where we have sound detecting devices set up so they can hear any noise that's going on. I don't think Charlie could get in here on foot any way possible. Just too well protected for that. There's not too many trees anywhere to be seen here except in the mountains. You can see several mountain ranges around us. We're kind of on a high plateau between mountains. In the town of Pleiku, we saw quite a few pine trees. They looked a whole lot like the ones down around the Mediterranean in Spain and Italy. I haven't seen many crops except rice. They've just off the base. In fact, out around the ammo area, there's a little valley. It's not more than 200 feet wide, just a ravine more or less. They flattened out and terraced, and they have already harvested the rice this year. That whole field now is being grazed with water buffalo and cattle. And going through to Pleiku, we saw some orchards. I don't know what kind of, bananas, and there's a lot of palm trees. In fact, they've planted palm trees all over the base. A lot of them are dying because they haven't watered them enough, but some of them are living, and I guess eventually this place will look pretty decent, getting grass to grow on where they keep it wet. But it's the worst place in the world I've ever seen to dry out. There's just, the soil just won't hold any water at all, just old red dust. I guess in 3 months or 2 months or so it'll be just plain old red mud, but right now I think I'd rather see it. At least it doesn't get in your eyes and your nose and just go all through your clothes. No way in the world you can get it all off of you. Well, they'd mentioned to you about all the dogs on the base or not, but every section practically has 2 or 3 Vietnamese dogs that they've adopted, and they're mangy-looking old things. Most of them some of them are black and white, and others are tan, but they're real friendly dogs. And the vet gives them shots. They all have rabies tags. And I reckon that's about all he has to do, except inspect the food, just to try to keep all the local dogs inoculated. And out at the Fighter Ops is a Siamese cat that has 7 little kittens that look like they're about 2 to 3 weeks old. Half of them are black, and the other half are kind of a brindle color. And they live right there in the Ops building. And out there this morning, looking around, and kittens are real playful. They climb up your pant legs, and they're just like kittens anywhere, you know. These dogs, they've the funniest things, they've seemed to have established some kind of pecking order among them, so that each one in each area has one that's evidently the boss dog, and then another dog come in, he's got a fight on his hands. Down to this outdoor movie on the base, every night there's a dog fight right in the barking and snarling around, interfering with the movie as if the helicopters and planes and everything else wasn't enough. But people want to have the dogs, I reckon, so they have them. The white ones are red dogs now, of course, because of the dust. No way you can keep one clean. Out the ammo area, they've got a big old steel bomb container that they've filled with water, and they bathe the dogs in it 2 or 3 times a week. But as soon as they're bathed, they look like it's just been a month or so before they've been cleaned up. TV station here, it's about 10 miles from Pleiku. The antenna is up on top of a mountain, and several of the people have bought these small Sony TV sets, but not too interested in it myself. It only operates about 4 or 5 hours a day, and the programming is even worse than it was in Europe. But they do have a good radio station, AFN, there in Pleiku. I listen to it quite a bit. It's a whole lot like AFN was in Germany. They carry a lot of this same type music they had in Germany, and a lot of local news plus world news, of course. I was talking to one of the loading troops, and happened to, well, mention came from Zweibrücken, you know, and he asked if I knew Pettengill, and I told him yes, and he said, well, they'd followed each other around for the last 10, 12 years, but he'd lost track of where he'd gone. He'd heard from him after he came back from Zweibrücken, but he didn't know that he'd come over here, so he was going to try to find out where in Vietnam he went. But I think he's probably gone back to the States, but now he left over there in January '67, I think. He spent about a year at Davis Monthan, so he's probably already gone back. I'll give you a sample of some of our local music from over here. This is about all we can get except AFN. I'll turn it up a bit here so you can hear it.
Triệu đồng bào miền Bắc đang hòa cùng tiếng súng tiến công hồi kèn xuất trận của 14 triệu đồng bào và chiến sĩ miền Nam để tiến lên giành toàn thắng, giành ngày Bắc Nam sum họp xuân nào vui hơn. Như trong lời thơ chúc Tết của Hồ Chủ tịch gửi đồng bào và chiến sĩ cả nước nhân lúc đất nước sang xuân. Mời các bạn nghe bài hát Kèn tiến công gian dội, sáng tác của Ly Lan, do tất ca giọng nam đoàn ca múa Tổng cục Chính trị trình bày.
You understood every word of it, didn't you?
Kèn sẽ công đang rồi vang một vang trời, ta dâng lễ sắp tới, dành lại quê hương rồi phố phường, giữ yên đất trời miền Nam. 20 năm lửa cháy bừng bừng, giờ lịch sử đã tới, vai chân vai đôi mũ thùng thùng, chiếc chân hàng nhằm kẻ thù sắp tới, kẻ thù sẽ thắng nơi đời, thời ta đã tới rồi, sẽ lên thành chiến thắng. Nghe quê hương thành phố thiên minh, vì đào ngọc thơ gió, ta đi lên trong máu là hận, chỉ quên thương nhằm kẻ thù sắp tới, ta biết chiến thắng chân này, chiến tiền không thắng rồi, sẽ lên đất nước anh hùng. Đèn sẽ công đang rồi mang muôn phương trời, dùng ta dâng lễ sắp tới, dành lễ quê hương tươi phố phường, giữ yên đất trời miền Nam. 20 năm lửa cháy bừng bừng, giờ lịch sử đã tới, vai trên vai đôi mũ trùng trùng, chiếc chân hàng nhằm kẻ thù sắp tới, yêu dấu chiến thắng nơi đời, thời ta đã tới rồi, sẽ lên thành chiến thắng. Nghe quê hương thành phố thiên minh, vì đào ngọc tự do, ta đi lên trong máu lửa hận, chỉ còn thương nhằm kẻ thù sắp tới, ta biết chiến thắng chân này, sẽ tìm công an rồi, sẽ lên đất nước anh hùng.
Well, that was one of the better stations. Now I'll see if I can find one of the worst ones. Stand by a second. This is AFN. get a lot of that kind of music. Right after I got back from the PX today with the 5 rolls of tape, guess what? One of the people that I'd asked to pick me up some picked me up 4 rolls. So I've got plenty for a while now. You don't have to worry about rushing it back. I guess that's about enough of that. Huh? It's almost 9 o'clock now. Let's see if I can catch your news and give you some good old AFN news without any commercials. Sounds a whole lot like it did in Germany.
The last thing you want to have happen is to have to spell that no. The last thing is to have that weapon blow up in your hands, but it can and does happen. And when it does, I don't want to be anywhere in the area. The fault is usually with the rifleman. If the bore gets clogged, we think real hard. He goes out of the room, but too much pressure builds up in the chamber. When you pull the trigger, and that's when the accident happens. What clogs the bore? Cleaning equipment. Corrosion, mud, dirt, stones, and water, all of which could easily be avoided by cleaning and inspecting. Take care of your M16A1, and avoid the big blow-up, 5 minutes of news. American Forces Vietnam Network Sergeant Number radio program returns. Vietnam Network. Serving the Central Highlands, this is the American Forces Vietnam Network, Channel 56, Flyco.
The Army Education Center at Campanori is now conducting a class in remedial reading. The instruction is considered good preparation for those men with low reading abilities prior to taking the high school GED test. Instruction is given on Tuesday and Friday evenings between 19 and 2100 hours. Arrangements can be made so that a man may receive help 5 days a week. The Education Center can give you further information and details. Phone is Campanori 321.
Good evening. I'm Army Specialist Bruce Dadd with 5 minutes of news compiled from commercial and military news agencies. President Nixon is visiting the chief U.S. negotiator at the Vietnam talks, Henry Cabot Lodge. The president will meet later with South Vietnamese Vice President Nguyen Cao Ky. Then Mr. Nixon flies to Rome for an audience with Pope Paul. East Germany shut down the main highway link from West Germany to Berlin again for 2 hours today. The communists closed the Autobahn yesterday for 2.5 hours. Other highway routes to the divided city are jammed with communist military traffic. The Soviets and East Germans are preparing to hold joint military maneuvers on the routes to Berlin. It's been reported now that the Autobahn has been reopened for travel between West Germany and Berlin. Some 12 million Romanians are expected to go to the polls today in Communist Party elections. The elections are seen as a test of confidence in the nation's move toward independence from the Soviet sphere. UN diplomatic sources have reported that Iraqi military courts have ordered the execution of 7 more persons, including several Jews, on charges of spying for Israel. The executions, if carried out, would be the third in a series of spy trials and hangings in Iraq within the past 5 weeks. South America's largest communist party battles the rightist National Party today for second-place political strength in the Chilean congressional election. The Christian Democrats, who have been losing ground since coming to power in 1964, will undoubtedly remain the largest single party. Jack Murph the Surf and his friend Jack Griffith have been found guilty in the murder of California Secretary Terry Ray Frank. Jack Vale of United Press International reports from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Following nearly 13 hours of deliberation, the circuit court jury found Murphy guilty of first-degree murder and recommended mercy, thereby saving him from an automatic sentence of death in the electric chair according to Florida law. Griffith was convicted of second-degree murder in the death of Mrs. Frank, whose body was discovered in the canal near Hollywood, Florida in December of 1967. Circuit Court Judge L. Clayton Nance sentenced Murphy to life at hard labor, Griffith to 45 years at hard labor. The prosecutor in the spectacular case, Assistant State Attorney Edward G. Stephanie, called the verdict a victory for the state of Florida. Defense lawyers will appeal. This is Jack Vale in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Federal and local authorities acted on a tip today and handed out 14 subpoenas to men as they stepped from a plane at Miami International Airport. Authorities said they were tipped the men were coming to Miami for a Mafia Summit meeting. The subpoenas were for a federal grand jury opening on Wednesday into alleged Mafia activity in Miami. Agents said they believed the men were heading for a meeting to decide on someone to take over the Mafia family of Vito Genovese, who died recently in federal prison. A 35-year-old woman under death sentence for murder escaped from the Florida State Women's Prison near Ocala last night. Authorities said Mrs. Marie Dean Arrington was considered extremely dangerous. She was sentenced to death in the shooting of a legal secretary and also had been convicted of manslaughter in the death of her husband. Prison officials said Mrs. Arrington cut the wire over her cell window with a sharp instrument and climbed 2 fences topped with barbed wire to make good her escape. Everything appears proceeding normally for the start tomorrow morning of the riskiest space mission ever attempted. The Apollo 9 astronauts apparently have shaken off the common colds which postponed the start of their flight for a 10-day Earth orbital mission. Another medical check is scheduled for this morning for James McDivitt, David Scott, and Russell Schweikert. The commander of the Sea Lab project tells of a mysterious incident after the death of aquanaut Barry Cannon. The aquanaut died 2 weeks ago of carbon dioxide poisoning while swimming 610 feet below the surface of the Pacific. Navy Commander J.M. Tomsky told an investigating board that just hours after Cannon's death, someone tampered with an oxygen valve in the decompression chamber being used by 8 other aquanauts. Tomsky said only a backup valve saved the aquanauts from instant death. A large-scale disturbance has broken out in San Francisco among a crowd of 100,000 persons who gathered to watch the annual Chinese New Year parade. Police say several Molotov cocktails were thrown, one of which set fire to a car. I'm Army Specialist Bruce Dadd, and that's news compiled from commercial and military news agencies on March 2nd, 1969.
So there you are. If there's anything happening over here, I guess you'll have to write and tell me about it. They're not telling us much the last 2 or 3 days. I reckon it's been quiet. Just hope it stays that way. I don't look for anything to happen for a good while after the clobbering they've been taking. Riding his bicycle to deliver his papers now. It's quite a little ride, I guess, 6-mile trip, but I guess he needs exercise. And all the bikes come through in good shape. Danny might need him a new one for his birthday. One he has getting rather beat up, I guess, and maybe he's getting big enough now to take care of one a little bit better. Didn't get his new one bent up, I hope. The crate set up out back and get his stuff into it all right. Shut down now and get this in the mail tomorrow. I haven't used quite all of this one side, but not much going on here to tell about right now. I miss you all mighty much. And send me a tape over and let me hear from all of you, including Sport. If you can get him to say hello to me. Hi, Sport.